This is the Brilliantly Branded podcast, a safe place to have a voice and talk about branding and all the reasons that bring a brand to be brilliantly branded. I am your host, Maria Lucia Romero, a woman empowering other women, and I am welcoming you to this journey of learning and inspiration to build awareness around the world of business and the world of brands. This is the Brilliantly Branded podcast. Our guest today is the founder of an initiative that aims to enlighten women artists across audiovisual stories. Charlotte in Red is an initiative that was born with the purpose of telling stories and documenting of female artists to show their creations for building bridge between the art world and business. She is Patrizia Luchetta, a professional with over 2 decades of international experience, who shared with us her fascinating journey from shaping strategies to advising businesses on a global scale. She gave us more details about how Charlotte in Red was created and how it works with the main purpose to amplify the diverse narratives of women in the arts. As a part of our conversation, she talks about the importance and power of communication and networking in the business environment. So please grab a cup of coffee or tea and join us in this conversation to have a big takeaway and discover how this episode is an open opportunity for talented women artists that want to show their inspiring creations at Charlotte in Red. Please don't miss this opportunity and let your voice be heard. Welcome to another episode of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. Well, hello and welcome again to the Brilliantly Branded podcast. We are coming to our regular episodes with inspirational women that want to have a voice and share their stories. Today, our guest is a woman from the creative industry. And of course, she's a solution-oriented professional with over 20 years of experience in international career. She has been in different industries and in economic sectors as well. And her journey has been both diverse and impactful from contributing Luxembourg a national strategy to advising companies on strategic goals in the private sector. So our guest today is Patrizia Luchetta, the artistic manager and collective co-founder behind the inspiring initiative Charlotte in Red. So welcome, Patricia. And after this short introduction, I am inviting you to please introduce yourself and share a bit about your background and journey in Luxembourg's art scene, please.
Thank you, Maria Lucia, for having me. Yes, you already said quite a lot about me. So maybe one important thing is that I'm not really an artist. I'm not an artist myself. And art has been a passion since I was growing up. Maybe because I didn't have the opportunity to study art or to study anything creative for that matter. And so I always kind of surrounded myself with friends who were into arts. And then I would say about 2 decades ago, I started organizing events and helping artists on the side, beside my regular job. So maybe one worth mentioning for me that was very exciting was to work with interior architecture students on a project for inclusive design for people that are moving to retirement home and that started having dementia problems, and how do you improve their quality of life. And I've also done project with mixed fashion and art. And I must say, in general, I really like projects that are interactive and that are blending genres. I like the synergies between different fields.
Wow, that is so interesting. And especially if you are making this clarification, I mean, you are not an artist, but that doesn't mean that you cannot belong to the artistic world that is so amazing and so challenging sometimes. Actually, for example, the digital transformation is one of the things that have been
having a big impact in the art world. And that is important and crucial for artists, of course, to showcase their talents. For example, this podcast is one of those. So what have been the challenges that have you been observed in this path about this virtual environment related with?
I mean, the virtual environment, has been developing substantially in the past decades. What really was a turning point, it was actually, and that was actually the birth of Charlotte in Red, if you will, was during COVID times. I mean, up to that moment of time, the virtual world was more seen in terms of communicating about yourself, positioning yourself, doing your marketing. And now all of a sudden, art galleries are closing, concert places are closing. So this virtual space also becomes your main stage. It's the
Wow.
only place you have to showcase yourself. So how do you emerge from the mass? Because everyone is there. And that's where we started thinking about what could we do to help more specifically women artists, because that was and is our focus, to distinguish themselves in this space. And I think going forward, it's going to evolve even more. I'm excited, sometimes a bit scared of what the consequences will be, but I think we have to embrace it.
Yeah, well, you here start to talk about the beautiful Charlotte in Red. I'm happy that you did that. And in fact, part of the things that Charlotte in Red exists is actually to showcase all those artists. But the most important thing, and one of the things that I want to know, is, for example, the origin of the name of Charlotte in Red, where this name is coming from, just to let our audience know where or how did you come up with that name?
So that name came out of a brainstorming session. We basically wanted something that would convey the feminine. And so feminine and strong women. And then we also wanted to convey the fact that we are in Luxembourg, even though our outreach is international, but that's where we are. And we want to showcase that Luxembourg is indeed at the crossroads of many things, including the arts. And so, the golden lady was one of the first ideas, but it's been used and overused. And then I said, well, the Red Bridge really is something that many people who come to Luxembourg remember, that you see on many postcards. And it happens that it is the bridge Grand Duchesse Charlotte. And Grand Duchess Charlotte was a very strong woman. And so we kind of combined the two and it became Charlotte in Red.
It is. I love that name, and actually, all the story behind is fascinating. I really appreciate that name. And believe me, I have been part of the branding world, and finding the right name is not that easy. So I think I have a lot of creativity behind and showing the meaning of the project. So I really love that. Another important thing that you have been speaking is about empowering women or giving women a voice. So Charlotte in Red, of course, is documenting all those things that you have been explaining to us, but actually, how you are targeting all those women. There needs to be from a specific sectors into the art world, or how do you targeting those women that are going to be part of Charlotte in Red?
There is no specific target. To be honest, when we started, the idea was really to say it needs to be women in the artistic sector, creative sector in general. So from dance to music to the arts. And the reason for it is, and I come from the business and the corporate world, is that everyone is talking about the glass ceiling in the corporate world or in the scientific world as well. Very few people realize that there is also this glass ceiling in the world of arts and in the creative world. And that was a bit our driver. And so we just said, okay, we want to help showcase these women artists. Obviously, we cannot cover them all, but we went a little bit by, our own contacts, people that we come across, people that we discover on social media, and that we like. And initial videos that we have made and that can be found on our YouTube channel really try to bring out what is specific about this person. What is the woman behind the artist? Why is she doing what she's doing, and what drives her? And that was really, we wanted to give it, a more personal touch, beyond what the fan usually sees when an artist is performing or showcasing their artwork.
So let's say you are making all the storytelling about
Yes.
those women that are doing certain things related with
Yeah.
art.
Yes.
And I have a question related more with the gender bias in the
Yeah.
art. I think that your experience on that and what you have been living, because when you want to say, I want to do that to empower women, is because of something. So I think that if you can talk us about that, it will be amazing for us to really understand a little more what is happening there. Why you decide to empower women and not genders in general, for example.
What for me was really to see, when I started working a bit more consistently with artists, and I realized the big gender gap that is existing, in most fields, I would say. In the film industry, it's kind of getting a bit better, but like, let's take music. There was one figure that I found in a report that really, I don't know, was mind-boggling, and that's the fact that only 3% of film music composers are women. I mean, 3% is crazy,
Nothing.
because there are a lot of talented women out there.
Yes.
And another one is in the arts, so the visual arts. So the reason I'm not looking at you, because I want to make sure that I read the right figure. But so there was a report published that says that the amount of money spent on art auctions between 2008 and 2019 was 196.6 billion US dollars. So that has been spent during art auction. Only 2% of this amount was for artwork done by women.
That
So
is not
4
acceptable
billion,
at
4
all.
billion out of 196.6.
That is not acceptable at all. You have
It is
more
not.
than reasons. Yeah, you have a
Yeah.
lot of reasons. And I really am proud that there is initiatives promoting that, because as we have been struggle in terms of this gender bias and how we are going to really fill this gap, this is one of the things, and this is one of the projects that I saw that will add a lot of value. And that's the reason why I invite you to be part of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. And talking about a little bit about your personal connection with the project. So all
Mhm.
those statistics and all those goals that you have is really clear that there is something that you can do for us. But actually talking about the project like that, how do you see these initiatives can really shape the journey in the art world? Do you think that this is going to make an impact, or what do you need to really make that impact? What do you think about that?
So for me personally, I need to go back a little bit. So when we started during this COVID period, is what it was really, the focus was on helping women artists to gain major visibility, since they already suffer from a gender gap. As my two initial co-founders moved on to new projects after COVID, and I reformed a new committee around me, one of my passions besides art is really everything related to the environment, and in a very broad approach. And that's the approach taken by the UN with their 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And I really believe that creative persons and art can help to raise awareness. And as it is, there are more and more documented actions by artists that are also activists. And nowadays they call them artivists. I think that in general, artists are there to move us. But we see really new generations of artists that are very active in this field. And so, because that's also a part, everything related to ESG is something that I see on the boards where I sit and I work with that. I've really decided to give this new spin to Charlotte in Red. and try to bridge these two worlds, the corporate one and the artistic one, in view of reaching the sustainability that we all need, and that is how I see I hopefully can make a difference.
Yeah, for sure, you are making the difference. And this is have a beautiful part that is that finally people receive a name of artivist. But for me, a sad part because you should not be fighting to show your your talents, and this is sad from that point of view. And I would like to know a little bit more behind the scenes of Charlotte in Red. So can you tell us a little bit about how that works? For example, how do you choose the artists that are coming to do the documental, all these kind of things, or how do you recruit them? On how that works?
So it's a mix. So I go out a lot to concerts, to dance performances, to art exhibitions. So usually it's a connection that I might develop with a specific artist, or with their work. And then sometimes, or very often, artists find me. And I always have this example of one of the artists that we have showcased, Fabia Maia, who is a very talented young Portuguese artist. And I listened to her. I was invited to a conference for women in music in Portimao in 2019. And she was the first showcase that night. She performed. And I really, even though I don't understand Portuguese, I had the feeling that I was understanding exactly what she wanted to convey. So I filmed her a little bit, put her on Instagram that night. And then the following morning, she sent me a message at 6 a.m. saying, I want to work with you. And I've been working with her ever since. So yeah, it's a little bit, a little bit of a mix. Usually it's like really the connection that, I mean, we all have energies.
Correct.
Everyone is good, but then we connect more with one person than another, and that's a little bit how I work with it. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And I think that the establish those connections with people is really giving you the trust to work with them first.
Yeah.
And second, to that the result of this work that you are doing, it really will be something beautiful because especially with art, artists, and I consider myself as an artist, not as a profession, but as well as you, as a connection with this artist, and my personality is focuses in artists as well. But I have been not connected with all people because I believe as well as you in this term of energies. In which way are you connecting with the people and how this connection start to generate onto this trust? So I think that sometimes it's easy, but sometimes it's a lot of challenges as well. And I wanted to know what have been all those challenges that probably with the Charlotte in Red you have been having, and how in certain way you have been overcome those challenges.
The challenge is always is often, not always, but it's often explain what you do and why you're doing it. But it's a challenge that is very familiar to me. I must say, all the projects I've done in my life, also in the corporate world, were usually like stuff that is maybe happening before the time.
Hmm.
And then people don't always see where this is going or what the purpose is. But I think you just have to keep going. If you're convinced that you have an idea that will help to change things or progress, you just have to keep at it. It's not always easy. And when you do that, you actually going back to finding the right people. You'll come across the people who believe in you and who believe in the project and who will support you in many different ways. So I think for me, one of the magic things is really to be open to talk to people. That person will not necessarily be able to help you, but she might be able to build a bridge to someone else, or think of you when she comes across something that is interesting. And that's I think that's how the world should actually be working. We should be supporting each other whenever we can, and that's it, really.
Yeah, communication and networking
Yeah.
basically is part of the things. Communication has to exist in every day in our lives, in personal and professional. Is the way that we are really making the people knows what we are thinking and generate those agreements that
Yes.
sometimes are, I mean, sometimes I am agreed to disagree, but always having a communication in between to really fix that and knowing
Yes.
what is happening and what can I improve. A network, of course, is everything. For me, have been demonstrated that across network is the way that we are really open to many other different opportunities that we probably are like not seeing even. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes I'm having conversations with people that arrive with amazing ideas, and you say, well, I will probably never think about that or see the things from your point of view. So networking is another one. Uh, it is true.
Yeah.
And related with you was talking about sustainability in many ways. Part of the
Yes.
ways is actually in terms of financial sustainability. You are now, if you wanted to say that in public, are trying to attract investors to your project as well. But
Yeah.
in terms of sustainability and financial sustainability, what do you think that Charlotte in Red and you wanted to involve in the medium term related with the project?
So I actually have a clear path in front of me, and that's what I would like to get to. So currently, I don't think we have talked about it, but so the current project which I'm leading within Charlotte in Red is called the Art of Change, and it's showcasing artists that are activists in 5 different European cities, starting with Luxembourg. So right now, I am fundraising to do the Luxembourgish episode, which will also be paired with a roundtable discussion where corporates and artists will discuss how they can work better together, create synergies, and then this documentary and the filming of the roundtable will actually serve as a trailer to then do a more substantial fundraising, probably abroad, to do the other 4 episodes in one go, because I want to work with a film director that sits in Canada. And so he would come over for a whole month and we would just film the 4 episodes together. After that, my dream and my vision is really to convince, either a TV channel like Arte or a streaming platform like Netflix to continue this series with even more professional means, and then really having a way wider outreach to the public. That's my dream.
Well, sounds very inspirational, in fact. And I think that the dreams come into the reality just when we, I think, verbalize in certain way. And verbalizing your dream is something that will make you arrive there, I'm sure. I'm wishing you all the best in this project. And part of the things is how people can contact in you. Which of those artists are the right ones to do the match with all those documentaries that you are planning? Because I think that the podcast and across the podcast, the audiences are there. You don't know what is this artist that is going to say, I wanted to connect with Patrizia in certain way and say, well, I wanted to be part of your project. So if you want to have a voice here, you have a voice, and let us know what do you need, what you are looking for, what are the kind of people that you will targeting. It will be amazing to know that.
So right now, I'm obviously starting to look at artists or the artist community in the cities that I want to cover, which will be very likely Lisbon, Amsterdam. I'd like to include Istanbul. It's not really Europe, but I like actually the vibe, this bridging again between Europe and a more Oriental approach to
Asia,
creativity.
yes.
And then probably one of the Scandinavian countries that are also there are also very interesting things happening. So I am, yeah. whoever has idea in that field, and then in Luxembourg, whoever is interested in contributing to make this Luxembourgish documentary happen by sustaining it financially.
Yes.
You'll find me on LinkedIn, or you can go on www.charlottinred.com and send a message through the website.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm curious about what kind of artists now for your documentary you are recruiting in Luxembourg specifically.
So in Luxembourg, it's actually already done, even though one is still awaiting final confirmation. So I have the dancer Silvia Camarda, that most people will know,
Yes.
who I have been following since many years. And I like the work that she does for inclusion, because she works with either people who have a handicap or young people who are facing challenging times. And I think that sustainability will only be achieved the day where we're all part of an inclusive society. Then I have Hisai Kenaga, and that is an artist that we have actually already documented, but not in that spirit. She's a sculptor, and she really asks herself a lot of questions about our consumption and the use of materials, and also as an artist, what is my impact environmentally. And then now a very young artist that I met just before Christmas, and she has agreed, and I'm really happy. And it is Mia Kinch, a graphic visual artist, and she is really very adamant about the position of women in society. So
Wow, that
fighting
is so
against gender
exciting.
bias. Yeah.
So exciting. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to see these documentaries as soon as possible. I mean, I'm so curious about what is the result because this is a way to have a voice. You are giving a voice as well to all those artists, and this is something remarkable. I have to congratulate you in public because this is something very nice. And I just hope that you have the support. The support is probably the most important thing because as you well know, all the things that I have been doing as well, we cannot do that alone. We need the support. We need the tribe. You need the community, the people knowing that and knowing in certain way they can add value. They can collaborate. They can, say something or transmit or reshare or reposting in social media just to spread this voice wider. So I don't know if just to start in wrap up, would you like to deliver a special message to invite all these women artists that are now listening to us on the other things that you want to communicate? This is a place, so please feeling free to say whatever you wanted to say. Now you have the voice, so the mic is from your side.
Well, there is one thing that I less of a call to the artist community. I see them. I mean, I see them regularly, but something that I would really like to point out about Luxembourg. Luxembourg has invested a lot in the past years in arts and artists, and it's really a nice thing. And I hear that a lot from foreign artists that have come here and made a living here, and then say, it's way more difficult in our home countries to achieve what you can do here. And Luxembourg has also, and especially the financial center, has really positioned itself in the environmental space and sustainability space. And I would just like to highlight that what I'm trying to do is actually, really connect these two worlds, because I think they can be connected in a way better fashion. And I invite everyone that is interested in learning more about why I'm doing it and why I think it's important to reach out to me and then have a conversation about it.
Yeah, then is everything starts with the conversation, and I will be very happy as well to helping you to talk about that, Charlotte in Red, the purpose. I think that's very aligning with my purpose as well in the brilliantly branded community and all the things that we are starting doing in Luxembourg. That I have a pleasure as well that you are going to be part of that. So,
Thank
Patrizia, thank you very much for your time, for sharing your project. I think it's very important for us to know, have been listening from you directly. What is the purpose? What do you want to achieve with that? And you, from my side, have all the support possible to have. And thank you very much for being here, sharing this amazing project.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We hope you have been inspired by this content and join us for future episodes of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. We will continue exploring the power of branding and the stories behind successful brands. And remember, if you know a woman who has built a successful brand with a unique approach and a story to share, please refer them to our podcast. We would love to learn from their experiences and share their story with our listeners. Stay tuned for more episodes of Brilliantly Branded, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, on our YouTube channel for more branding insights and women empowerment. Until the next episode, ciao ciao.